right, welcome back. So this is not the day to dive. It has been absolutely downpouring on this entire coast. And there's nothing that's really doable. It's all just really dangerous due to water with no visibility, and it's too dangerous to dive. And Jake and I both got a little bit of fish already and we're exhausted. So taking today off. This is one of those messages of you don't always need to push it. You got to listen to your body, and you got to listen to the water and the weather sometimes, and just know when it's your time to take a break. And today's that day. All right, it is now tomorrow, and even though we did get a little bit more rain last night, it really wasn't too bad, so I'm feeling pretty confident with it today, and I'm gonna go brave a solo mission out there. I'm actually gonna bring my gun and my 3-prong and my buoy and maybe some chum, which I never usually bring all that stuff, but it could make for a pretty cool, amazing day. We'll see. Yesterday was a good opportunity for me to practice a different type of discipline. Instead of going out when I don't want to, I actually looked at the water and almost went in. So I said, no, you have to practice discipline and take a day off and give the water a rest. It's asking for a break. So I did. But today I need some food. So I'm gonna finish packing up the rest of my gear here and we will get out there. So I have to say it, do not dive alone. Don't do it. It's rule number 1, and I'm breaking it, but it's what I'm doing today, so I'm committing to it. I'm going to change the rules a little bit, and I'm just going out there to collect some food. Rule number 1, come back safely, and for spearfishing for me, bring some food home. So that's really the only mission. I have no big game plan. I'm not trying to make it an epic day, and I did bring some chum out, more to feed the reef, to give the food back to the fishing area than I am to try to call fish in. So that's kind of what that's about. Other than that, we're just going to go cruise. So I just went down, checked out the water. It's pretty calm overall, but it's a little murky, but should be pretty cruisy out there. Let's get into it. So while it wasn't super hectic getting in here, dealing with all this gear at once made it pretty challenging, and it's every bit as murky as I expected it to be. So I start heading out, the gun's unloaded, I got the 3-prong in the hand, and right away I see some lead on the ground, so I'm gonna go try to grab that off the reef and clean up a little bit whenever I can. But I have a bit of a swim to go, and with all this gear in my hands and the weight of the buoy, it's really not working. So I'm going to drop this lead into the chum bag and keep it off my person. And then I'm going to clip my 3-prong onto the buoy and then my gun onto my belt, and that frees up my hands a little bit. And it's still a bit of weight, but it's definitely a lot easier now, so now I can cruise out to my starting spot for the day. So after a little over a 20-minute swim, I get to a spot where I want to start diving for today, and I want to start with the 3-prong. So I'm going to swap these out. I'll put my unloaded gun on the buoy and grab my 3-prong. I'm going to put a loop in my tagline, and then I'll try to clip it onto a rock, so then I can kind of stay in one spot and not fight this current all day. So I'm going to go down here. I found a really good rock to loop this around, and I'm going to be as cautious as I can not to hurt any coral heads. So I'm trying to loop it around the rock and not onto coral heads specifically, and that seems like a pretty good anchor point to start. So good enough out here. It's in pretty shallow water, about 10 meters, and now I can finally relax. So I'm just going to breathe up, holding onto this line and not deal with the current. Then after a few minutes of relaxing and breathing up, I'm ready for my first drop of the day. So I give a yank on that tagline, which gives me a little head start heading down to the reef, and I load my 3-prong as I hit the bottom, and right away I see some nice menpachis. So I try to head this guy off, and I take my first miserable shot of the day, but I got to get that one out of the way. That was definitely on purpose, of course. So I wait for them to come back out, but I think I spooked them, and they're not going to show. So I'm going to look for some other options. There's some nice Kole kicking around. They're pretty good size. So I'm going to shift my attention over here, wait for this guy to turn broadside, and he gives it to me. So now I'm calibrated. I'm feeling a lot better about my day. I got my first fish and my first drop. What's up? And then right there, I saw a nice table boss, so I gave him a point to let him know I'm after him. And after dealing with the fish and doing another breathe up, I head down for my second drop of the day. And again, I'm going to load the 3-prong when I get to the bottom so I don't burn my grip out on the way down. And I'm in more or less the same spot. I'm looking for those menpachis, but I think they're long gone. But there's a lot of fish out here. I got a lot of options. I'm not going to be super picky, but that table boss is in the back of my head. I take one more peek in that hole to look for Pachis, but nada. I'm going to take a look around at my other options, and I'm getting a little bit lost in the sauce. There's a lot of options. I'm getting a little distracted, but I got to stay focused. I want that table boss, and I don't know where he went. But as usual, the fish you're looking for are almost always behind you. So take a peek back here, and there he is. I knew he would stick around. So I got to figure out how to shift my weight over here and not spook him. Do a very slow, smooth turn, and he sticks around. It's a really bad idea. I don't know why, but he gives me the stone shot, and I take it. And he's pretty decent size. I would have been stoked to shoot this guy with a gun, so extra stoked to get him on the 3-prong. Oh yeah, 2 for 2. Great start for today. Yeah, baby. Well, good thing it's not a beauty contest. Alright, so I'm on a roll already, and I'm really going to focus on getting king Kole now because I saw a few real big fat ones in this area. So I'm in a little bit different zone, facing a different direction, and I see these guys kicking around behind these boulders. So I know that they respond to grunts and scratching a little bit. So I'm going to be patient, try to stay in one spot and see if I can bring them to me. I don't want to spook them quite yet, let them know I'm hunting them. I'm just going to let them get used to my presence. So I'm going to stay here for a second and load this thing up, and now I'm ready to make my move. So they're getting comfortable with me. I'm going to start sneaking towards them and see if I can head them off and chase one down. So that's the one I'm after. He's a big fatty. So I'm going to sneak up on this rock, get a hold of it, and get ready for my lunge. So I have my hand hold. I'm going to chase him down, and he's on to me right away. I don't want to spook him that bad, so I'm going to let him go and try him again. And because I didn't take a wild shot on these guys, I don't think I spooked them that bad. So I went up, I relaxed for quite a while, and I come back down to try them again in more or less the same spot. And they did stick around. So I'm going to try to sneak up underneath them on the reef down here. And there's a nice fat po'opa'a type of rockfish over there. They're good eating too. It's just not what I'm after right now. And I take a look in those rocks over there to see if anything else comes out. But I'm still focused on these king Kole. They're a little bit away from me, and they're getting pretty comfortable with me right there. He's a real fat one. So I'm going to sneak up on him very slowly, take a long shot here, and I get him right on the end, and he almost comes off. So I swim as fast as I can to use the water pressure to keep him on, and it works. So once I get my hand on top of him, I know it's a done deal. I got a fat slab of king Kole right there. Excellent eating. Almost like a regular Kole, but king size. And here, because it's a surgeon fish, they can be a little bit tricky to gut, and that's how I do it. I slice from the gills down, and I pull them all out that way. It's easier than gutting up the belly. And then you get some free chum. It preserves the meat, and you also don't have to deal with the guts on land. And then to my surprise, the current actually shut off, and then the buoy was right over my anchor point and ended up looping over that coral head. So I didn't want to do any damage, so I swam down and unlooped it before I caused any damage, and I'm going to move on. And while I'm pretty satisfied with my 3-prong mission so far, I do want to take one more drop of the day with it because I did see some nice menpachis kicking around this hole, and I haven't had menpachi in a while. And there's a ton of them back there, but they're kind of in the back of the hole, and the surge is kind of pushing me into this rock a little bit, so it's a little bit challenging. And the 3-prong is 8 feet long, so it's hard to angle it in here, but it gives me an easy shot there. Take my time, and as I go to pull him out, he wiggles off, unfortunately. But easy to reload, got plenty of breath, and there's a lot more pachis back there, so I'm going to try them again, wait for a better shot, but it's kind of hard to see, and the same thing happens. Okay, I don't want to hurt any more fish. That's enough for that for today, so I'm going to go up, swap it out for the gun, and move on. The old switcheroo. So we're going to take the big boy out now, get this guy all loaded up, change locations, do a breathe up, and get ready for part 2 of my day. Here we go. So then as I started to swim out a little bit deeper, I noticed that those moo came back and they started to show some interest. So I stopped what I was doing and I took a breathe up and taken a drop down here into the sand so I can dust with both hands and throw a little up in the air. I hid behind this boulder to see if I could sneak up on them, and as I slowly creep around, I don't see any there. Take a look behind me, and there's one little one coming in right there, but he's not really enough to warrant much effort. There's a lot of fish around, but I'm really after these moo right now. So I'm gonna try a new strategy and try them again. I noticed that a few more showed up after that, and they seemed to be hiding in this pile of rocks. So I very slowly crept over when I was on the surface and decided I was going to take a drop between these boulders into the sand. So I'm going to try to keep my head down and keep their interest so I don't spook them. So I'm just going to dig around the sand a little bit and throw a couple grunts out, and I got my flasher on my pinky just in case they want to come check me out. I take a look up, and they are right to my left. So as smoothly and slowly as I can, I'm going to creep my gun around to the left side of this boulder so I can start lining up on them. I'm going to keep my head down, scratch a little bit, and they seem to be coming closer. And as I creep over this rock, they're a little interested, but they start to head away from me. So to avoid spooking them more, I'm just going to hold up, wait for him to come back, and he does. So he gives me an easy shot here. I aim right for the pec fin, and it's a done deal. I can tell that he's not going to come off, the flopper's open, and I'm going to haul him to the surface. I'm pretty surprised because it's kind of rare to get a moo at this depth for me. I don't even think I was at 40 feet, so pretty stoked about that. Fairly easy dive and a real nice moo. Oops, I probably should have gutted him before I took this shot. And then, much to my surprise, the moo actually stuck around. They seemed to show some interest after I shot that last one, so I'm going to go try them again. I'm actually a little bit shallower here. I'm only in about 10 meters of water, a little over 30 feet. And so I'm going to put my gun down, dust with both hands, and see if I can bring them back in. I'm in a really good hiding spot in these boulders. I feel like I got a really good vantage point where I could see really well, and I'm also hidden. There's a couple of them over to my left, and they're a good solid size, nothing super big, but I want to ignore them so they think I don't see them. I look behind me and I don't see anything else, and as I very slowly bring my head back around, I'm going to see if I can sneak up on them. And as they come off the reef to go chase them down, they head away from me. And I think about heading back down, but not really worth it. I'm ready to move on, go out a little bit deeper. So this is a pretty fun one. I was actually on my way down to go loop the tagline around the reef again so I can help fight this current, and I saw this omilu come in. So when I was upside down, I unclipped my gun off my belt. I drifted towards the bottom a little over 40 feet here. I called him in, and he gave me the shot I was looking for. He immediately heads down and loops himself around some coral, and I try to yank him off the reef, but it gets stuck. So now I got to decide, do I leave the gun and come back down and get him, or do I let the line out and fight him from the surface? So I look up, I'm not very far from the surface, so I decide to let the line out and fight him from up there. That way if he unloops himself, he doesn't steal my gun, and I can go breathe up easy. And then luckily he swam the right direction and unlooped himself off the coral, so I was able to haul him up from the surface, so I didn't have to go back down and get him. And he's a pretty decent sized one too, in the 5-pound range, so he's got a lot of surface area on him and still a lot of life. So he's fighting pretty hard. It takes me a couple minutes to get him up, but it's always pretty exciting to land a nice omilu like this. Such a beautiful fish, and they're amazing eating. What a treat. So the current is behaving very strangely today. It keeps changing direction and intensity. So it starts pushing me out deeper into the water, which is not really where I want to go. So that chum bag is getting pretty heavy, and all my fish are in the bag too. So I'm going to start unloading all that chum that's in here over this boulder field just to get rid of some of the weight, feed the reef, and see if I can get one more fish for the day. And check it out, that's a table boss from the last episode. So I'm really feeling this boulder field where I was just chumming, and I'm a little bit deeper now, a bit over 50 feet. And because I've been super blessed today, it's time for me to pick off an invasive. I know they like to live in the rocks, and I saw some nice toals and taapes around. I'm just going to kind of see where they're at and if I can get them to come in. I'm not seeing anything in the immediate area, but I did see them around from the surface, so as I aguado over this way, I can see them underneath that big boulder there. So a couple nice taapes and a good toal. I'm going to see if those guys will come in, but if not, now I know where they are. So I'm not going to waste my breath, waste the dive. I'm by myself. I can't really push it. So I'm going to go get some air and re-strategize. I'm just going to cruise on into this landing zone as smoothly and quietly as I can right behind these boulders. I feel really good about my hiding spot. I look behind me, make sure I didn't miss anything. And now I know where those invasives are. So I'm just waiting for them to pop out between the rocks. And as usual, when you're hunting invasives or any particular fish, they disappear. And there's a ton of fish out here, and don't get me wrong, if the right fish rolls through, if I see a fatty goatfish or a knife jaw, I'm gonna grab that too. But really my focus is on these invasives. So I'm just gonna be patient. I know they're around. They just know that I'm hunting them now. So off in the distance over there, I can see a fatty toe out. It's kind of a long shot, but he doesn't know I see him, and I'm gonna take it. So bang, right through the tail. Not my best shot, but I know it's a good holding shot, and he wedges my shaft between the two boulders, and instead of having to go back down and get him, I'm just gonna grab it right now. So the gun floats and the shaft sinks, so if I have the choice, typically I'll grab the shaft, and I'm gonna head back up. And while I was down there, my buoy drifted away from me a bit because it's not secured to anything, and now I have to go chase it down before it drifts out into the open blue water, which would be very bad while I'm trying to secure this fish. So I'm multitasking here, no big deal. The current's not super strong, it's just a little frustrating. So I get a hold of my fish, my last one of the day, got my invasive, and I'm feeling very satisfied with my day. And before I start heading back, of course, I'm gonna gut and gill this fish, feed it back to the reef, pack up my stuff, and start my long, arduous swim back. So this is a lot more gear than I'm used to bringing out here, let alone by myself. So it's pretty heavy, I'm pretty tired, and I'm going against current, and I have a long way to go. So I ended up securing all my fish to my belt buoy instead, and then I spent some time rolling up my tag line and put it in my hand. That reduced the drag quite a bit, and I was able to swim a little faster and easier. And then on the way back, when I got over a deeper section, I saw this glimmer underneath me, and this pot of dolphins showed up, which is always super cool to see. They hung out with me for a little bit, which is great because I needed some distraction on my way back. It was a really long swim. And what a great way to end a really awesome day. So let's unload this thing, trudge through the murk, and figure out how to get out of the water with all this gear. Well, how's that for a cruisy solo mesh? Well, not that cruisy, but got plenty of fish. Super stoked about that. Now let's go home and clean this stuff up. Yep. Ooh, yeah, baby did me right today. Oh, there she is. Yeah, let's see what you like. I got a lot of fish here for you. Yeah, got some blood meat, got some moo. Here. There you go. What you think? Gonna start with that table, boss. Yeah, the blood meat off the Omilu. What's up? That's the King Kole. Yeah, you like that, don't you? Yeah, girl. Okay, so this should be a pretty fun one. So if you watched the episode a few episodes ago where I got a lobster in the day, we ate that tail. But I refroze the body, and I've been boiling it for about 12 hours. I'm cooking that down into a broth. It's just about done. Alright, and then all of that is going to go in the compost. We need our trees. So the whole point of this one is to keep it super simple. So we're cooking down the lobster carapace into broth. That's left over from a couple weeks ago. I got a couple cloves of my dad's homegrown garlic. Thanks, Dad. Got an onion, and we're gonna use that King Kole to show how awesome this fish is. So, just gonna mince up this onion real small. We're gonna use a half an onion. Beautiful pile of onion there. And we can relight this fire. Oh yeah. All right, and then we'll get that garlic chopped up. And because I have this beautiful purple cabbage, I'm gonna use some of that too. And this one we're not going to mince up, we're going to keep it long and stringy. Now we're just going to stir this all together. Add some spices to it and let that cook for a little while. Alright, so as usual, the first thing we're going to add to that is salt. But I have a special treat right now. So, a fan of the channel, Hunter, just sent me a box. Thank you so much, Hunter. This is awesome, super cool stuff. He makes his own sea salt. So this is pa'akai, which translates to solid ocean, and it's sea salt. So he harvests this himself, takes seawater, evaporate it, and it turns into different coarse salt. This is the large grain. How flaky that is, look how cool. So just because this is kind of the OG style, this is what I'm going to use today. Alright, so we're just going to throw some flakes in there. Quite honored to be able to use this. Very cool addition to this dish tonight. And we're just going to let that cook for a little bit while we add some black pepper, add some turmeric because it's really good for us and I like the flavor. A little bit of extra spice with that chili powder. And of course, thyme. And as long as I'm here, I'm going to take some green onion. Now let's go ahead and mince these up together. All right, just like that. We'll give that a little while, maybe 10-15 minutes, and then we'll just throw the fish in. That's it. All right, that is cooking down nicely. We are ready to add the fish. So I got the nice King Kole here. Beautiful white fatty meat. We're gonna cut it into strips against the grain. All right, beautiful. We're just gonna throw this right in here. Give that a bit of a stir. And we're just gonna give that a few minutes. When that fish is done, we're gonna eat. All right, it's probably been 4 minutes or so. We are all cooked down right there. We are done. All right, finally. Been working all day and I am starving. And Megan's out of town tonight, so I have to eat this whole thing myself. And maybe we will have a proper table and chairs soon, but for now, eating on the floor is pretty cool. So, cannot wait to try this. It's still pretty hot, but I can't wait. Yeah, Amazing. Super simple, right? And like most of these ingredients are really easy to get. You don't even need to use lobster broth. You can use any broth out there. I just really wanted to use the lobster up and make sure I'm using the whole part of the animal. Pulled it out of the freezer. But man, that is fantastic. Super simple, right? Just some onion, garlic, and I had some cabbage, so I threw it in there. A little bit of spices and that salt. Perfect. Thanks again, Hunter. That's super cool, man. Appreciate that. And again, just to like reiterate, like you don't really need to be a crazy good diver or push yourself that hard. Like you can use pretty much any fish. And king Kole, even though it's not underrated, people know how good king Kole is. It's relatively easy to shoot. You can get them with a 3-prong. They're pretty shallow. They're fantastic meat. It's super fatty. Got a really great texture, great taste, and really versatile. So these fish are out there. There's a lot of fish you can use. So pretty simple to put together. Healthy, tastes great, can't go wrong. So I'm gonna eat this because I haven't really eaten much today. I am starving and exhausted. So thank you guys again for all of your love and support. Really appreciate you. Remember, in this world right now, a little bit crazy, right? So just spread as much love and light as you can. Be kind to each other. That's the best we can do. Thank you guys so much. I'll catch you real soon.